Good day, Michael.
Today, sir.
We're going to have a fun chat with my friend Michael Hughes.
Happy to be here.
Yeah. Michael, I'm so glad you agreed to come on the podcast. We met several years ago, and I've had such interesting chats with you. You know a lot of people, and learning from you on your networking skills and what you do for the public and how you help out and the people you've introduced me to. I remain indebted to you for a long period of time. I really appreciate you, what you do.
Thank you. Thank you.
So what got you involved in helping people network? Because obviously I'm sure you'd done other things before, but what led you to doing this?
Yeah, first of all, my background's all business. Spent 23 years in the corporate world. And then I tell people I was literally and figuratively fired into success. And when that happened, I did one of those, I'm mad as heck. I'm never taking this anymore. I've never put my future in someone else's hands. So I decided to start my own company. And I got to tell you, those first couple of years were pretty bad.
Yeah.
And I remember sitting with one of my corporate mentors, and I was lamenting my situation to him. He looked at me and he said, Michael, you're a one-person company. You got to get out there and network. You got to work your network. Now, I was a middle-aged professional. I thought I knew what networking was, but I respected this guy, so I decided to take his message seriously. So I started reading everything I could get my hands on around networking, and there wasn't really much there. This was 25 plus years ago. And I started watching all of the successful people. I watched what they did. I watched how they acted. And I started taking the principles I read about and the strategies I saw those successful people use, started applying them in my business. And things started to work, not overnight, but things started to work. And I said to myself, you know what? There's something here. So I decided to start putting together just a couple of little programs on networking, just a little 30-minute talk or a little presentation on that. And over the years, things have grown, expanded, and I got to tell you, for the last 25 plus years, I've been singularly focused, some would say obsessively focused, on networking as a business strategy and a professional competency. This is all I do. I work with executives, I work with corporate heads, I work with entrepreneurs, and I work with salespeople to help them understand what networking really is, how it works, and how to utilize it more effectively.
Yeah. And even with me, I'm the recipient of this. Say, Dan, you got to network, you got to join this group, you've got to do this. And I'm like, I'm busy. But you're so right, obviously. And if you know, and to do this religiously and systematically, I think it yields a lot of benefits. So I'm still learning.
Good for you. Good for you.
So what methods do you suggest people take in order to network and meet new people, obviously in business? I mean, I used the first time when we had we met at breakfast, and then he said, you should come to the mayor's breakfast. I'm like, what am I going to do at the mayor's breakfast? I don't know the mayor. And you invited me to the mayor's breakfast and introduced me to people. That was a lot of fun meeting with like-minded people in business. People have different things they're working on. And it was quite interesting. So apart from doing that, like what other tools do you see that you're suggesting to people that reach out to you to network?
I think the number one thing to be more aware of is there's a misconception about networking, that it's a prospecting strategy, that your job is to walk into a room, find somebody, grab them by the throat, throw them on the floor and say, buy from me. That's what people think it is. And nothing could be further from the truth. Networking is one of the most important and valuable resources we have at our disposal. It really is. When you think about it, we're social animals. We need to be with other people. We want to be with other people. And so what happens is networking is really just an extension of who we are. So what happens is the more people become aware of its power, of its impact, and its ability to be able to affect the results we want and need, the more they can take advantage of it. People say, well, where should I network? Well, I try and tell people, we're networking all the time. Networking is formal and informal. You do it in business meetings, but you also do it in the community when you're out with the kids and they're having their hockey practice and you talk to the other parents. It's holistic. It transcends just the professional world that we think of. How many times has someone in your personal life had an impact on your professional career? And how many times has somebody in your professional life had an impact on your personal career? So networking is all around us. It happens all the time. It happens with everyone we meet and everyone we know. Now, the key to success for us as professionals is to understand where can we or where should we network to have the maximum impact. And that's finding the right network. People think it's like a bee that goes out in the backyard and starts pollinating all the dandelions out there. If I just do more of it, I'll have more success. That's not necessarily the case. Because as business professionals, what we want to do is we want to fine line that trajectory between where we are and where we need to be. And we do it through the people that we know, right? Because, there's a bunch of network laws that I've explored. The basic network law says you have access to everything you want and need through the networks you have or have access to.
Sure.
So it's all about thinking in terms of what are the networks that you need to be part of. It's like in your case, you can go out to all kinds of women's business networks, you can go out to all kinds of community networks, but in your case, in your commercial realty practice, you want to connect with other professionals or individuals who could help you get to where you want to go. So it's not about being everywhere, it's about being in the right network.
Right.
Your credibility grows faster within a network than across networks. So what I suggest to people, and I get asked often, Dan, people say, Mike, where should I network? My response is always the same. I don't know.
Right.
But what I can tell you is there are 2 networks that you should be part of. If they're talking to you or any of the listeners here as part of the podcast, one is the network of your target market.
Right.
Well, you want to be in the network of your target market because you want to fish where the fish are, right? If you could walk into a room where there are another 25 or 30 professionals who were aligned with the commercial real estate, commercial property business, that would have a lot of value for you.
Right.
The other network you want to be part of is the network of your peers. That's the other professionals. Why? Well, that's where the trendsetters are, that's where the partnerships you make, and that's the connections you make. So when it comes to networking, it's more about being strategic. It's more about focusing on the target markets that you want to connect with and the professionals that you want to grow relationships with.
Yeah, that's powerful. Yeah, so first, obviously, you need to know where you're going to go. Obviously, it's kind of in life, that's what we all need to figure out. What's the goal? And now, obviously, as you point out, so it's not necessarily one thing over the other, but it's really focused effort. So, no, that's good advice.
And the next question I normally get asked is, well, that's fine, but where should I go?
Yeah, well, that was my next question. What are definitely the next steps?
So
You beat me to it.
What I tell people, there are 3 ways to find the right network for you. The first one is some of them are self-evident. Like when I made my decision to be a networking subject matter expert, I said, well, where should I go? Well, the largest professional business network in the Ottawa area is the Ottawa Board of Trade, what used to be the Greater Ottawa Chamber of Commerce. I said, well, that makes sense. So it was self-evident.
Yeah.
The second one is just do a Google search.
Right.
It might be commercial property professionals in Ottawa.
Right.
And anytime you find an interest area, there's a community that grows around that. And the last one is, and I think it's the most effective one, is to simply start a little strategy that every time you talk to somebody over the next couple of weeks, just ask them, what professional networks or industry associations do you belong to? They'll tell you.
Yeah.
And when you hear one you think you like, you say, are you a member? They say yes. You say, could I tag along to the next meeting?
Yes.
And they'll say, sure. When you walk into that meeting, you get introduced as a good news story, you piggyback on all the credibility, and you find a lot more people like them. It accelerates your whole success. So it's more about finding the right network and then investing in it and leveraging it to get all the success that you want and need.
No, that's brilliant. Obviously, to be able to tag along, but have the focus, go in and engage with the people who are like-minded, and taking advantage of that is obviously, now that you say so, self-evident, but it's nice to hear it, right? Because we all sometimes go to try to figure out different ways to do that, and that's why I always enjoy having a chat with you. And obviously, I wanted the audience to be able to hear, get some of the nuggets that you have and take it on. So say for example, you join a new network, you meet people that are like-minded, that they're same goals, you have similar aspirations. So what typically, would you typically suggest, I don't know if it's organically or systematically, but stay in contact with them, and how often? Because I know you have a newsletter or that you send out on a weekly basis. So anybody that pays attention, you're always top of mind. But what's the frequency, and how do you typically do that? So you're not necessarily being forgotten, nor are you being too intrusive.
And I think in order to answer that question, Dan, we have to take a step back.
Mm-hmm.
And again, there's a misconception that when you walk into a room with other professionals, you find the right network, you walk into that room. There's a presumption that because you're a member of that organization, people will agree to do business with you. They'll refer you. They'll partner with you on a construction project. It doesn't work like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, a guy told me a long time ago, he said, Michael, success in business and life is all about relationships.
Right.
And that's the absolute truth. So networking's true purpose, its fundamental premise, is really to bring two individuals together and act as the catalyst for the powerful relationships that are the basis for success in business and in life.
Mm-hmm.
It's a relationship igniter and a relationship accelerator. It's about two things. It's about the social part, that's the conversation you have with that person, and the strategic part, which is the relationship building. Because relationships take time, they need to be nurtured, and they require investment.
And trust.
Right?
I mean, obviously.
That's right.
Trust
If you think about 2 or 3 of the highest value relationships in your life right now, Dan, I mean, did those relationships happen overnight? Well, of course not.
No.
And if you and I could go back into the series of events, you met them somewhere, then all of a sudden you had some kind of additional connection with them. And as you got to know them better and realized the value they had and they realized the value you had, and you began to see how you could contribute to one another's life, you saw how things went. So when it comes to utilizing networking as a business strategy, because that's what we're talking about, right?
Right.
It's about understanding that it's the relationship that drives the process.
Right.
So it's about creating and developing relationships. Creating the relationship is the spark that happens in that initial conversation. The strategic part is what you do after. And here's the thing about relationship. Relationships usually start very fast and then they stabilize. So I keep telling people, if you meet someone at an event that you feel can have an impact on your life, on your career, on your business, it's your responsibility to follow up. And you know, it's an accepted fact that 90% of professionals do not follow up after a networking event. Now, does that make sense? Well, of course not.
Yeah.
So the key is understanding that if you meet someone that you think can help your business, what you want to do is you want to reconnect with them. People say, well, you know what? I don't want to seem too hungry. I don't want to push too hard.
Yeah.
The reality is, the sooner you follow up with that person after that initial contact, the more chance you have to piggyback on all the enthusiasm and energy of that conversation, and the more you'll have to do. So I tell people, I say, if I meet someone at an evening event, they'll get a follow-up email from me first thing this morning. If I meet them at a morning event, a breakfast event, they'll get an email from me by 10 o'clock.
Yep.
And the response I get from most people is, wow, you blew me away, Mike, because nobody does that.
Right.
But if you're only going to do that, to just say, hi, how are you? Enjoyed our conversation. Thanks very much. Goodbye. It's not going to work. It's all about moving the relationship forward. It's about continuing to build a relationship. Find a reason to reconnect, to have that coffee, that breakfast, that lunch. Get to know more about that person.
Yeah.
Because relationships take 30 to 60 to 90 days to really coalesce and come together and see how you can make that work for both of you.
Yeah. And I can attest, I mean, obviously I've been on the receiving end of that. So I can say, as a recipient of meeting you and then having the reciprocal follow-up, you're really like, oh, wow, okay, right, we connected, and then the conversation, next thing you know, we're meeting again, and we're having discussions, we're sharing contacts, and I'm asking questions again. Hey, Michael, what about this, or what about that? Hey, can we go to breakfast again? So obviously these things work. And I think one of the things you told me, because sometimes I look at these things like too systematically or too, and I forget the organic aspect of how to do this, where it just needs to happen organically. But one of the things that you commented on that I value, and it's, again, I say it's self-evident when we think about it, but it was like, Dan, it act as if you act, just provide value. Just provide value. Don't worry about the exchange. Are you giving enough? Are you taking too much? Just provide value. And it becomes reciprocal. And obviously, and I mean, obviously, there's part of me that feels indebted to you because you've given me so much advice, and I'm like, how do I give back to Michael? And I say, hey, we started podcasts. Would you come in and explain what you're doing? And perhaps somebody, some people listening in will benefit from your knowledge and your way of thinking. And that aspect of providing value is I think,
and that's something I encounter quite often, Dan, because most professionals have not thought of networking as a process, right?
Right.
And so they haven't thought about taking that initial contact and then moving it forward. And when they think about doing that, say, well, like how do I do that?
Yeah.
And so what I tell people is two things. If you think about relationships are really about three things.
Mm-hmm.
First one, they're about trust, value, and contribution. Basis of trust.
Mm-hmm.
It's about value, and value is a two-sided coin, right? You have value, and I have value. And unless and until I can find out what your value is or how I can bring value to you, then the relationship really doesn't mean all that much. And then the third piece is contribution, is how can I contribute?
Yep.
So when you come in with that perspective, and I always tell people, how do you start? You start with the two most important communication skills that we as professionals need to continually develop. That's being a better listener and asking better questions. The more you take the focus off yourself, trying to tell people stuff, focus on finding out more about the other person, what's important to them, what their interests are, where they're going in life, what their needs are. And the more you begin to look at how you can feed that, fulfill that need, and make a sincere contribution to them in an area that's important to them, they'll not only remember you, they will work on your behalf for months and years to come.
No, and I'm a testament to that. Because of you and how you think. So that's great. And I mean, and anybody listening into this, obviously, I like to talk to people and people in business and real estate and people that have done different things, and just to stretch the mind and learn and take the nuggets with what you want. Like in your experience with everybody you've worked with, like who benefits the most from networking? Is it people just in business, just people in general, just people who are introverts that have a hard time communicating? Like, is it more business minded when the people that you work with, or is it for all aspects of life?
You know, networking is good news, bad news story. Good news story is it applies to everybody. It applies to students who are looking for a job.
Yep.
It applies to someone who's in career. It applies to a sales or business professional, to an entrepreneur. It's a life skill that should be taught in school so that we could all get better at it. That's the number one thing. The number two thing, it's different for everybody because we're all different. But, you know, you use the term introvert, extrovert. There was a time when people said, you know, as an introvert, it's a weakness. You can't do that. Well, you know, the research that is coming out now, Dan, is saying that introverts are more powerful leaders and better networkers because they're not focused on everybody. They focus on the person in front of them. They have deeper conversations, more value-based conversations. And that's what happens. So when it comes to networking, it's about three things. It's about being intentional, first of all, about where you want to come from with this. Second of all, it's about recognizing the incredible value of others that you meet. See, I tell people, every person you meet has the potential to help you to the extent that he or she is willing and able.
Right.
And your mission is to stimulate that willingness as you discover their ability relative to your situation. So everybody can help us in some way. Maybe not today, maybe not next week. But at the same time, it's important to recognize once you become more aware of what's going on with this networking piece, that it's not just having a conversation in a room. It's a powerful resource that we all have that allows us to connect with other humans, build relationships that have incredible impact. It's happened to me over and over and over again through my career. And that's why I'm trying to share it with folks, to help them understand how to better utilize this. And it's more important today, Dan, than ever. Because after having gone through the pandemic, so many of us got used to the digital piece, the virtual piece, that we've lost some of that face-to-face connection and its importance and value. And I think it's important to remember that it's more important today than ever. Yeah.
No, and I agree with that. I agree with that wholeheartly. And I think we did meet through the pandemic.
We did.
I think
we did.
That was kind of neat.
We did. It was a LinkedIn connection.
We were always trying to figure out. And funny enough, I'm discussing with you. Didn't realize we live like a few minutes away from each other.
See, but I keep telling
we didn't know.
I keep telling people there are no networking accidents. The universe brings into your life all the resources that you want and need on an ongoing basis. If you're more intentional, if you're more aware. And you look at those pieces as they happen, and you start to develop them, and you massage them. What happens is it's amazing what'll happen. It's happened to me over and over and over again.
Yeah, no, this is awesome. We always have fun chatting with you. We got to keep it tight because it's a podcast, and I want to respect your time. But Michael, if anybody listening to this wants to learn more about how you help people do this, like, what's the best way? I mean, we'll put your links in the video, but what's the what's the best way for them to get in contact with you, initiate a conversation, and perhaps, you know, work with you on how to develop those skills? Because it's, as much as you come on, you're natural, you know, talking, you know, on camera, and this is how you are all the time. It's not natural for everybody. Right? And I mean, obviously, and you're a big source to help people do that. Like, what's the best way for them to reach out to you?
Well, the number one piece would be through my website, networkingforresults.com. Networkingforresults.com. The other way, just as you and I connected on LinkedIn, because most of us now are all on LinkedIn. I'm very active on LinkedIn, so just connect with me there. Reach out to connect. Let me know you're on the podcast, so I can let Dan know that at least somebody saw it.
Somebody saw it.
and you know, reach out to me. Directly.
No, I appreciate that. Michael, thank you. Thank you for coming on. I look forward to continuing this relationship. It's one I value a lot, and I always look forward to having a chat with you, and looking forward to our next breakfast.
Thank you, my friend. It's been a privilege and an honor.
Perfect. Thanks, Michael.
Thank you.